Today I want to talk about something that recently I've been going through, and maybe you have too, and that is how to find your design style when you like everything. As you know, I'm a design lover. I went to school for design. It's all I think about, it's all I do. So I like everything, pretty much. There are so many elements of design styles that I love and I want to implement, and there are certain things that I'm drawn to more. Recently, I've been kind of shifting drastically, and everything that I thought I loved has kind of been flipped on its head. If you've watched my previous videos, I have talked about Matilda Goad and Luke Edward Hall ad nauseum, and I still love them, but I've kind of stepped away from that design style. If you're not familiar with their style, it's very colorful, very graphic, very bold, very playful, and I'm kind of going away from that. I was talking to my husband Seth about what I want to do with our house. We've lived here for almost exactly 2 years, and I'm kind of over it. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm kind of over our coffee table, our rug, some chairs, so I'm kind of spiraling. And I've been really inspired by other designers such as Pearson Ward. I talk about them again ad nauseum, but I love how they're a little bit more serious. There's more depth, I feel like, to their design. It doesn't look super, super playful. There is a playful element, but it's, like I said, a little more serious, and that's the direction I want to go into. I feel like our house isn't as cohesive as I would like it to be, so that's the direction I'm trying to go into. So I'm kind of having a design crisis, I'm not gonna lie to you. But anyways, the point of this video is if you're in the same place as me and you just love so many things, but you don't know how to find your exact style, I'm gonna try and give you some tips on ways to do that. My first tip is you don't need to label your design style with a name. I feel like I've tried to do this. I'm like, is it folk? Is it modern folk? Is it preppy? Like, I'm trying to put a name to what I like, but in reality, there's not really one name for my design style. Yes, there are definitely certain elements, like I love folk art, but I also love modern elements and I also love English elements, but I wouldn't consider it modern folk English. I feel like I'm just drawn to what I'm drawn to. I like what I like, and I don't think you need to get stuck on what is this called. For me, I can kind of get stuck in that mindset of trying to figure out exactly what you would call my style, but that kind of stops you from exploring other things. Like if you say my style is mid-century and it's only mid-century, then that kind of halts you from finding other design elements that might suit your house as well. So I would say you can definitely have these buzzwords that you're drawn towards, like folk, like modern, like country, or whatever it may be, but I wouldn't limit yourself to only using those words, and if the decor or furniture doesn't fit those words, you can't get it. Kind of let yourself be free a little bit. My next tip would be to collect clues of what you like, whether it's through Pinterest or magazines or things you see on Instagram or movies. I've talked about this point before, and I think it's really helpful to look through everything that inspires you and pinpoint what things show up repeatedly, whether it's a color palette, shapes, composition, texture. Look at those things and kind of jot them down or keep them in the back of your head and think, okay, so I really like velvet, so I'm gonna be on the lookout for more velvet. What I used to do when I was scrolling on Pinterest is I would not pin something if it wasn't 1000% what I would do in my home, but now I'm kind of over that and I just look at certain elements, and if I like a lamp they have, or if I like a rug or a bookshelf or the way they styled it, I'll pin it. Even if the whole thing is not exactly what I would do, I think it's important to find design elements that you can implement in your own life. You don't need your whole house to look exactly like that Pinterest image, but you can take bits and pieces and implement it in your own home. I also think it's important to look back. I'm just going to use Pinterest as an example. Look back through your pins and see what you're actually pinning and not what someone else is, because I can get very caught up in, oh, I'm looking at this person's Pinterest or their Instagram and they're saving a lot of this and I don't have any of that. Maybe I should go back and pin some of that stuff. but that's not what you're naturally drawn towards. So pay attention to what you gravitate towards, and doing just what someone else is doing is not gonna have your house end up looking like what you truly, truly want. My next tip is just to look at what you already have, what you already live with, and again, notice patterns. What have you kept the longest? If you've done a clear out of furniture or decor over the years, or over a year, what has stayed? This has helped me a lot because there are certain pieces that if I'm doing a cleaning spree and I'm trying to get rid of a bunch of stuff, there are just certain pieces that I can't part with. So that's how I know those are the things that I really love and are really important to me. And you can also look at those pieces and kind of dissect, okay, what style is this? What era is it from? What is the shape? Why do I like it? And that can help define your other design choices. I think what you're gravitated towards when you're shopping, especially thrifting, is very telling of what your actual design style is. For me, recently, it's been a lot of wood, really fun wood chairs, lamps. I actually just got a lamp that I'm obsessed with. It was $8 because I've been trying to replace the IKEA lamp I have on that dresser, and I just never liked it, and I found this and it's huge, and it was $8 and I love it. So for me, I've been trying to get, like I said, into more gritty, and by that I just mean more texture, more vintage, just story behind it, and less playfully put together, very vibrant. So I would say instead of solely focusing on your wish list, just take a look at what you already have, and that will help you see a little bit more of, okay, this seems like I'm leaning into this style. The next tip I have for you is to just make peace with things feeling a little bit off. If you're like me and you're just trying to design your home with what you have because you can't afford to get all new things, which is, I think, most of us, you have to make do with things not being 1,000% perfect or ideal. Some things might feel slightly off, like I said with that IKEA lamp. It was just kind of a placeholder until I found the perfect one. Now that I have one, it definitely does feel a little bit better. But I think the key to trying to find your style is just learning to love what you have. There are still a lot of elements about our house that I would love to change, whether it's art, the size of art, a rug, like I said, coffee table. But until you get your dream piece, I think it's important to maybe move them around, try a different position, move the art around. You kind of just have to make do with what you have. It's hard, especially, like I said, if you're into design, you want that piece you have in mind so badly. But it also kind of stretches and works your design mind if you are trying to switch around what you have and make it work. Sometimes this is easier said than done, but I think adding elements that are affordable, like flowers, lighting, even switching out a light bulb to make it warmer can really help. Moving around art in a place that you normally wouldn't, maybe it's a different position on the wall, maybe it's the center of a wall instead of at eye level, maybe it's really low. It's fun to just try something that you normally wouldn't and just experiment. It may look bad, but it's an easy fix. My next tip is, if you're able, I would splurge on one fancy item. If you're really wanting to get one new piece, I would personally get a really large item such as a chair, a rug, a dresser, a lamp, something substantial instead of just a little item like a coffee table book or a dish. Those are fun, but those can come in later. I think finding one big item, something really nice but's also in your budget, can make a huge difference. Like I just said with the lamp, the one we had before was very skinny. To me, it kind of looked cluttery, like visual clutter, because it was so skinny. I wanted something a lot more substantial, and now that I have that, it genuinely changes the eye line of the space. Instead of looking around and seeing this like skinny, not the best lamp, having something big and tall makes everything look a little bit more cohesive. I mentioned this in, I think, a couple videos ago, but I'm really into bigger pieces, bigger armchairs, bigger couches, bigger tables, bigger lamps. So that's what I'm leaning into, and finding pieces bit by bit has really helped. Even though it takes a while, it's really worth it when you finally get that piece. So I would just get one thing, save up for one thing, maybe sell something you have, use that money to get the new thing. That's what I love doing. That's what I plan on doing for the rest of our space. But you never know how much of a difference one item can make. Another tip I would have is just copy what you love and then make it your own. I think we all know nothing is 1000% original. Everything started somewhere, but also everyone does their own interpretation of that. For me, I'm never really trying to reinvent the wheel with my designs, but I know what I like and I know the direction I want to go into. I'm really drawn to just the classics, whether it's really old pottery that's been around for years and years and years, or the shape of chairs. You know, I like looking at things that have already been done. People have already loved them for decades, if not centuries. I always take inspiration from that, but I like adding in my own fun new twist with it. I think there's nothing wrong with a little bit of copying. Obviously, you don't want to do 100% copy of anyone, but you gotta take inspiration from somewhere, and I think it's really helpful to find an aesthetic that you like and implement just a little bit of it into your home. As I mentioned, I love Pearson Ward. I have their book. I look at it almost daily, and because I look at it so much, I get so much inspiration subconsciously, and then that just happens to go into my own design work. But I would say if you're taking inspiration and trying to make a certain part of your house look just like something they would do, you can do that, set it all up, live with it, but then I would remove at least one item so it feels more you and replace it with something that you've had for a while. Again, it's one of those items that you've had that you've never gotten rid of that's very, very true to you. I would implement that into your new design. That's what I've been doing, kind of finding things around the house that I've had forever and just putting it in a new area, but styling it a different way. And it really has kind of opened my eyes to a new way of decorating. It really is about moving things around, just getting a new perspective, because if you're looking at the same thing every day, it's been decorated that way for years, it can be really hard to push past seeing it in any other way. So I think removing it, letting it be blank, and then just kind of sitting on that idea of, okay, what else can I do? And just moving things around has really helped me, at least. And I think that would be really helpful for you to just, like I said, gain a new perspective of how to do things. This wall color we have was completely a copy of Matilda Goad's wall color in her living room. I was so obsessed with her wall color. It's the exact same as this. It's just by Fairwind Ball, Mrs. Sherwin-Williams. And I was like, I absolutely have to paint my living room that color. And I did, and I still like it a lot. But my taste is already changing, and I got pink curtains that are very similar to hers. Those are the two things that I was like, I have to do that. I know that's literally just a copy completely, but I have to do it. But then slowly but surely the rest of the house has been changing, and it's definitely more my own now. But those two things I definitely took from her and just recreated. And I think that's completely fine. Sometimes you're going to copy someone, you'll have it in the beginning, and then slowly but surely, inevitably, your style is just going to change, and it's just going to become more and more you as the months or years go on. This little tip, I'll keep it brief because I've already talked about this, but never underestimate the power of lighting. Like I said, if you have lamps that you don't love, switch out the bulbs, because there are still a lot of people out there that I see using bright white bulbs, and it is sad. So switch out the bulbs. You don't realize how much of a difference a warm bulb can do, and it already sets the tone in the space. At night, you turn them on, it's automatically cozier. No matter what the rest of the room looks like, having that lighting makes such a big difference. So definitely keep that in the back of your mind. If you haven't done that already, make sure to do that. My last and final tip is find a signature, something that is a through line through all of the rooms in your house, something that really feels like you, and you implement it in every room. For me, as of right now, I would say that's definitely a floral. I love a floral. Again, I'm kind of leaning away from super girly, vibrant patterns and colors, but I still love a floral. I think in any design style, a floral would look good for the most part. So I've noticed in every room in our house there is a floral in some aspect, whether it's fabric on something or actual flowers or a pillow or whatever it may be. That's kind of my go-to, and I have to have something like that in every space. I mean, even right behind me is a painting of flowers. So I would say find something, whether it's a color, a texture, a decor piece that you really gravitate towards and you repeat it throughout the space. I also think finding your signature will help your space feel less decorated and more personal, because at the end of the day, that's kind of the goal. I really, really do not like overly decorated spaces. Like when a designer comes in and everything is redone, but it feels like everything was just redone and you can kind of tell where things are from and when they bought it. Like there's nothing vintage, there's nothing old, it's just kind of everything's brand new. That's not something I enjoy at all. So having your personal aesthetic really helps redefine what style you're going for. So those are all of my tips to try and find your personal style. Hopefully they helped you to kind of hone in on one direction instead of being scatterbrained like me and trying to go in a million different directions and do a million different things in your house. Although that's still completely fine. That's part of the design process and finding your footing and seeing what you like. But hopefully these tips kind of helped you to go in somewhat of one direction instead of five. I have a feeling in 3 or 4 months our house is going to look a lot different, hopefully, fingers crossed. So I'm excited to do videos in the future of maybe living room renovations, or not renovations, but like a complete redesign. I have a lot of ideas in mind, so be on the lookout. And the laundry room video is coming. I still have a couple things I have to do, and I want to do like a complete before and after, because I feel like that'll be really satisfying. So that might be my next video. We'll see. But I think you guys are really gonna like it. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen what I've done, but it's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. And that living room is exactly where I want my style to be. I've kind of used that as an opportunity to go into my new design style, and I'm really, really happy with it. It's exactly the direction I'm trying to go into. So be on the lookout. I hope all of these tips were somewhat helpful. If you guys have any specific videos you want to see from me, let me know. I'm always trying to come up with new ideas. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye.